welcome here today you, because right now you're going to be seen as one of the most important human beings on the face of the earth, because all human beings are important. And I want to say this right now. Many years ago, there was a bell that rang out, and it rang out freedom from a place called Independence Hall in the great city of Philadelphia. And I was born and raised about 7 blocks from that hall and from that bell. And that bell rang and it rang and it rang, proclaiming liberty to all the inhabitants of the land. And somewhere along the way that bell cracked and it became silent. And the problem may be that what that bell stood for, what it rang for, proclaim liberty throughout all the lands of the earth. Maybe there was a crack in our resolve to proclaim liberty and freedom throughout the lands of all the earth, to all the peoples of the earth. We profess to be free, and yet we fail to see the chains of our own surrender to the fact that in this world, violence, murder, warfare, and hatred still exists. What's wrong? The bell of freedom must ring again, but it must ring from within our own minds, within our own hearts and our own souls. I don't know, one day a man goes on a shooting rampage. Who gave him that gun? Who gave him the gun? We did. We put the gun in his hand. We said it was okay. We acquiesced. We gave him the gun and people died and others suffered. And that happens every single day in this country and every country around the world. It still happens. A week later, a student, he brings a gun to school and accidentally wounds other innocent students. Who put that gun in his backpack? We did. And if that's not enough, shortly afterwards, a policeman, a civil servant, is the object of a gunman who showed no qualms in trying to kill him. Who put the gun in that man's hands? We did. But who put the lack of empathy? Who put the heartlessness, the cold-bloodedness in his heart? We did. All of us are responsible to one another. And yet we claim to be free. The bell of freedom doesn't ring because there's a crack in the facade. And the facade reveals that underneath, we human beings, every one of us, from one end of the earth to the other, still harbors that fear and mistrust of one another, of our own brothers and sisters, just because they speak a different language, they have a different color, they believe differently, they worship differently, and they think differently. We are not free. We are not free yet. We still harbor fear. We still harbor disappointment, every one of us. We don't talk about it, that we haven't reached that golden age that was promised a long time ago. And you know what that golden age is. Every religion talks about it. Every faith professes it. Every human being yearns for it deep in each and every one of our hearts, where brother and sisterhood reigns and love rules the universe. Where's the peace of mind? Years ago, when I was a young boy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt made a statement. He said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." And I want you to hear that today. How would you like to live a life that's free of fear? How would you like to live a life where the planet is ruled by love? How would you like to live a life where your leaders, where your neighbors, where your relatives and your friends care about you and you care about them when they are in distress. The bell, it can ring once again, but it has to ring inside of our hearts and our minds. Let every one of us proclaim liberty and freedom throughout the entire planet. Let us do it now, and let us live by that credo alone. Let's join together and bring that great age that was promised to us by our ancestors. Bless their hearts and their souls. We killed a Jewish rabbi 2,000 years ago because he modeled a way of life for each of us that we could aspire to. I ask this question: where is Abraham, Martin, and John? I thought I saw them coming up over the hill, but the good, they die young. I thought I saw them coming up over the hill, but the good die young, and yet they're still with us. I look around, and they are gone, but they're not gone. They're still here, as long as each one of us keeps their spirit alive and what they stood for. Let that spirit of love, the spirit of peace, of tranquility, of caring for every one of our fellow humans, let that rattle inside of us like that bell of freedom a long time ago. We can change the world. I like to see that before I die. I don't want to go to my grave disappointed. I've lived a very good life. I've been very, very happy. But I am just one person. What about those all over the world who are now crying out for help, crying out for someone to care for them? I'm not asking you to make a charitable donation. I am asking you to open your heart and let the bell of freedom ring inside of you. Because we cannot be in peace with ourselves when every one of our fellow human beings is not enjoying that same peace, that same sense of freedom from violence, from hatred, from discrimination, from prejudgments. As I wander a little bit, I gave a lecture a long time ago, and a young man in the audience looked at me, and I'm a bit overweight, and he questioned, how could I possibly espouse any kind of good knowledge or wisdom or love when I am overweight? He made a prejudgment. He didn't ask me whether I loved myself and I cared for myself and I cared for my fellow human being. He focused on my defects. And I'm the first to admit, I'm not perfect. No one is. But it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside. It doesn't matter what religion you have, what ethnic group you belong to or national group, what racial group you belong to. There is a value that surpasses every other value, and that's called love. We can change the world, and the world needs changing. I'm saying this to you now, and you are probably agreeing with me. Maybe you're cynical. Maybe you don't believe that the human race can change. Maybe you don't believe that the lion can lay down with the lamb, and that we can turn our guns into plowshares of love. And you're going to hear me saying that over and over again, love. I'm going to say this to you because I am concerned about my children and your grandchildren and your children's children and children's children. It is our inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is our absolute duty and obligation to love and spread love throughout the world and to channel whatever residues of hatred that lurk deep in our souls into creative efforts. Creative efforts to reshape the entire human race. Mold us into the creatures that we were meant to be. Let's look for a belief system. A belief system that we can all share together. Let's not get all hung up on symbols and idiosyncrasies of language. Let's all join together in the one thing that we all share, and that's the capacity to care, the capacity to love. For love, like I have said, supersedes all other beliefs. It supersedes all other thoughts. It supersedes ideologies, practices, and political viewpoints. And you can tell that to our politicians, because they are in charge of the rhetoric. We are all entitled to safety and peace. So I say to you, let freedom ring. John F. Kennedy, he spoke out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I want to rephrase that. Don't ask what the world can give to you. The world has already given you a Garden of Eden to live in. The world has already given you life. The world has already given you the capacity to love. Now it's your turn to ask yourself what you can do for your planet, for all the people on this planet. Ask yourself, what is there in your heart that you can spread out to the entire planet, to every human being, for we are all equal. So let freedom ring. I want you to proclaim liberty throughout the planet. From Beijing, China to North Korea, from Moscow and deep in the heart of Texas, from the Philippines to the Andes, deep in the jungles of South America, from the great horn tip of Africa to the deserts of Egypt. Let freedom ring. Proclaim liberty throughout all the lands of the earth. From the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Aqaba, from Israel to Iran, from Gaza to New York City, from London, England to Paris, Mother Russia, deep in the Congo, let freedom ring. Proclaim liberty throughout all the lands of the earth. For the time has come for love to rule. To the streams of the Amazon, let love come down like showers of rain. Let the trees hear you singing songs of love. Let the clouds in the sky see you dancing for joy, because we are free at last, free from fear, free from poverty, free from hatred, free from violence and warfare. Let's sing it, let's dance it, let's shout it, from the Nile Delta to the peaks of the Himalayas. Let us proclaim liberty and freedom throughout all the lands of the earth.